Good evening. Welcome to LoveLogical, DNA Not Required. This is Michelle L. Anderson, coming to you live from Podcast Detroit, Royal Oak Studios. We are looking forward to intriguing and entertaining you every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Let me start today's show by saying thank you for joining our family, which is biological by nature, LoveLogical by choice, DNA Not Required. Hello, everyone. This is Michelle Anderson, and tonight's show is very special to me. Yes, I am a woman who is going to tell my age because I am proud to be on this side of the dirt. I am turning 53 years old on September 12th, and this is a milestone for me because this means that I have outlived my mother and my sister. And I just recently came to the realization that my mother I knew she was young, but it was 34 years ago when I lost her. And 34 years, I was young, so I didn't see my mother. I saw her as old. I didn't see her as being young. So now that I have reached her age and surpassed her age, I realized that she was young and she had a lot of living left to do. So I have decided that as of this year, I am going to live for both of us because I know there were a lot of things that my mother wanted to do, and I plan on doing them because I know that she's still around me, but I want to experience these things so that just for myself, really. I want to experience, this is part of my self-care, is to do some of the things that my mother wanted to do. So today's show is very important because my mother had two very close friends. And when I say very close friends, their personalities were all so similar. And normally when you get women together and they're so similar, they bicker. But these women didn't. They would have their ups and their downs, but no matter what they went through, they never stepped away from each other. They were there up until the end for each other. And you see gentlemen in here with me. Everyone knows Delon.
Hello, how's everybody
my co-host
doing today?
Delon, my son. And actually, I was pregnant with Delon when my mother passed away. She knew he was going to be here, and it's funny because she thought he was going to be a girl. So she chose the name Janelle Monáe for him before she passed away. Of course, I couldn't name him Janelle Monáe.
Thank goodness.
Because he would have had a really hard time in life. But later on in life, I was blessed with a little girl who's going to be 18 in a few months. Well, actually next month. And her name is Janelle Monáe. So I was able to give that name. But next to me, I have two people who were very close to my mother. Their sons here. I have Kiefer Verdon.
How you doing?
Who, his mother, they lived in the next block. And our mothers met prior to, I remember you being born.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I remember you being born. Yeah. He was funny looking then, too, everybody.
I'm handsome now. Very handsome.
I like the haircut.
And funny looking at the same time. You can be handsome and funny looking, too. You know, we can handle that nowadays. You know, I'm going to end up getting a whole lot of people that's going to go off on me for calling you funny looking on the show.
Don't forget handsome.
I said you can be handsome and funny looking, too. That's a love. That's
funny
love.
looking, just handsome.
I can't. We've called you that since you were little. I'm sorry. It's today's world. The Me Too movement. Oh, I can't touch you. No, I'm just joking. No, but this was my baby. When he was little, he was my baby. I remember when he was born, just watching him grow through the years and everything, and I'm very proud of him. And then over here to my right,
Hey.
Judy. So we have Julia.
I'm not Judy, though.
And we have Judy's son, Bill, who it took everything inside of me not to call him Billy. I told Christine, I said, I got to remember to call him Bill. Because she said, yeah, he's not Billy anymore. But
she still does.
Yeah, he was our Billy. So I have Bill over here to the side. And Bill, you want to introduce your better half?
Next to me is the lovely Carrie.
And
Carrie has been in my life for about a year now, just over a year, and we would have to do a whole nother show and topic on the support and care and love that Carrie has shown me in the past year, because the things that I've seen and done and have gone through in this period of time, she's been there every step of the way. So she's a wonderful person.
All right, Carrie, I like that. And so then also on the phone, we have my sister Christina on the phone. Christina,
Hello.
and Christina is Judy's oldest daughter,
Little sis.
and he calls her little sis. I think that he's making a joke on our height, Christina.
I think so too. Or he just wants to treat me like a little sis.
I call both my sisters little sis because
Yeah.
as we grow in life, we learn, as Pop always taught us, we have to take care of the women in our life.
Yeah,
The most important person in our life always was Mom.
yeah,
Without question, Mom was always the most important. Mom carried you for 9 months. Mom took care of you. And so after that, we learned that the women in our life, whether it be, mom, grandma, sister, or loved one that sits next to you, you care for them and you make sure that they're protected. So even though I'm technically, as they would like to call it, the baby of the family, my sisters are my little sis because I got to take care of them. I got to make sure that their well-being is cared for.
Christina, remember him running around in diapers, trying to follow after everybody and trying to climb up on the bunk
Yeah.
beds? and
We
couldn't
wasn't
get up
going to
there?
bring that up.
I remember when Billy was little, and I remember his crib was against our bed, and I would tell Mom, I'll go get Billy, and I would get him and slip back on the bed to get him out and carry him, although I couldn't carry him hardly because I wasn't very big, through the house to give to her. And I said, now you can change the diaper.
That was
So
when
I
you guys were over
remember that.
were you off of 8 Mile and, I can't remember the name of the street.
I don't remember.
No, I can't remember the name of the street. It was the White House.
We always called it the White House.
Yeah.
We really did. I couldn't even tell you what street it was. We always called every place that we lived when we were growing up. We always had a name. It was the White House, Newport, the Upper Flat, State Fair.
Yeah.
It's just that's how we knew where we lived.
Yep.
So
Yep.
Porter
Yeah.
Street, Vinewood, Hubbard.
So what's so funny is my mother, it was like these two strong women in her life, and they were both strong women. And when you think back to the 70s, I mean, I'm talking about early 70s, it was rare that you had a friendship between a black and a white woman that was strong. It's very rare that you had that. And the two of them, they were strong. They were strong together, And then we had Aunt Julia, who she was a trip too. She was strong.
Very strong.
And and they would get together, and excuse me for putting it this way, because life was different back then. They would raise hell. They would. Am I right?
Yeah, you're right.
Yep.
They
Yeah,
would
you're
they would raise hell.
And you put Chief in the mix of almost anything, and there was going to be hell happening.
Yeah, and they would seriously raise hell. I mean, there was no messing with their kids. There was no messing with each other's kids. There was no coming between them. They didn't play. They would sit down. They would drink their coffee together. They would drink their beers together. But one of the things that they did was they stuck to being together. And that's just how it was. And anybody who knew my mother growing up, she was the one that she was known for frying her chicken. She had her chicken. That was her thing, was her chicken.
That's what you were known for too.
Yeah. Mine was baked chicken. Hers was fried chicken.
Oven fried chicken. Let's
Yeah.
get it right. Oven fried. Have all the kids on the whole block like, hey, your mama cooking chicken today?
Bake and bake, yeah.
No, I didn't shake and bake. I actually learned how to fry my chicken in the oven before it became popular.
Yeah.
And don't tell me why. I don't know why, but I learned
Easier.
how to do it. I wanted to
No
do it, and I
messing.
did it.
First
Yeah.
Popeyes, not Michelle.
No,
we go.
excuse me. It was Michelle way before Popeyes. Way before Popeyes.
Next, I'll teach you how to fry chicken on the grill.
That'd be interesting.
Fried chicken on the grill. It's good stuff.
On the grill.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I do the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
You talking about in the fryer?
No, right on the grill. You bread it and put it right on the grill.
I just do it ghetto fabulous. I just build a pyramid of charcoal. And set the grease right on top of it.
Yeah.
And the temperature is about 500 degrees at all times. Drop the chicken in there. It's cooked about 3
So
minutes.
you frying it on the grill?
Fry it. It's dangerous though.
Oh, yeah.
And you sitting up here, you
Put it
fry it
right-
actually on the grill.
Bread it right on the grill. Oh, yeah.
See,
Make
You can ask this one next to me. The kitchen and the grill is a wonderful place for me. I love being there.
but
I
see
love to cook.
that comes from
It
your
comes from-
upbringing.
Oh
though.
yeah, it comes from family.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
comes
me
from your upbringing.
me and Pop. See, that was a funny thing with like you talking about Mom, because Pop did all the cooking in the house. Mm-hmm. He almost all the cooking.
Daddy Bob.
But there was a few things that in his way, as he always said, a woman, and he would tell her, because when it came to gravy, Mom made gravy. Mm-hmm. When it came to chicken and dumplings, which I just made a huge pot of just a couple of days ago, it turned out wonderful.
Yes, it did.
And
But
cornbread.
the cornbread,
cornbread.
yeah, there was things that
made that
Mom,
too.
that it was only Mom's. When it was time, it was Mom's. And-
Judy made
Yep.
the best homemade dumplings.
Yeah.
For her chicken and stuff. She made for chicken and dumplings. But that's funny too, because all of them cooked their butts off. Because your mother cooked.
You guys are making me hungry. Is this a Food Network channel?
Because
Is this
Julia,
LoveLogical or just you're making me hungry
Julia cooked, but Tony was the big cooker in your house too.
on the grill? Yeah.
On the grill. He was the grill master. So that's funny, because bringing this up, I didn't realize the similarities between the husbands until we just talked about this.
Think about the similarities between the moms,
Oh, the similarities
Like, you
between the
guys-
moms were a
I've heard some
trip.
stories.
Oh yeah.
Wait a minute. What was funny is Bill was saying, you thought the stories about our moms weren't true.
Yeah. It's
And
Yeah.
like
it's
a tall tale.
Christina, before you called in, and I'm not going to go into detail, but I was talking about when we were younger, and we had a fight over off of Newport, and got in trouble for going inside of a house. And I'm just going to leave it at that, because me and Christina, we actually we're very, very close in age, and we got into a whole lot of trouble together.
Oh, yeah.
Because of our moms hanging out together. We got into a lot of trouble together too, and their house was someplace where I was allowed to spend the night, because and what I'd do is I'd run in the room as a little girl, and I'd crawl up on the bunk bed and I'd pretend that I was asleep so that my mother would leave me.
But your house, Michelle, was the only house that we could go over to play in
Yep.
or spend the night in also.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't
Nobody
that
else's
unheard of?
house but
Back then?
Phyllis's house.
What, white kids playing with black kids?
like spending the night at the black kid's house.
It was
Isn't that unheard
it
of
was
back
different.
then?
It was different.
Yeah.
But see, you got to remember something, though, and Kiefer can attest to this. There weren't that many black people in our neighborhood at that time.
Yeah, we were the first, I think the third family that moved in on
Yeah,
Chalmers.
yeah, and we were like one of the first ones down, and we were the first down in our block. And then everybody that came in, everybody knew. But it's so funny because they all had their style, and even to this day, for those of you who ride down Chalmers, I can almost guarantee you that you have at some point in time questioned the house with the lions on the front porch.
Leo and Cleo.
Even as a kid, I would always say Aunt Julia's house reminded me of like some palace because of the lions on the front porch. And it's funny because even Delon now,
Still, that's the only way I know how to get there.
you know the
Yeah,
house
I'm like,
because of the lions on the front
Yeah.
porch. So if you ever drive down Chalmers, south of Jefferson,
Look at the lions.
Look at the lions. Those lions have been there for.
It was 2 sets of lions.
Was it?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, the smaller lions are in the backyard now.
Okay.
And then the bigger lions are up front. Leo and Cleo's up front now.
Okay. Did the smaller lions have a name too?
Yeah.
What's their names?
Let me see. What was their names? Good question. Get back to me on that, Michelle.
What? And you know, it was just so funny because she had the lions. My mother had a fountain in the living room. Christina, do you remember the fountain?
Oh, yes, I do.
I think
I do so much.
Who has a fountain in the living room?
We're in a time machine.
I remember when I first went over there to play in the house, Michelle, and I went back home and told my Mom, they have a fountain in the living room running water.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, you're lying to me. I said, nuh-uh. That was before my mom and your mom, they would talk before they
would talk before they started hanging out. Yep.
And the fish aquarium. Remember the
Yeah.
piranhas?
Yep.
Yeah, piranhas.
No, actually, they were alligator gars and Jack Dempsey's and little sharks.
Little sharks, okay.
Yes. My mother had a fish aquarium in the dining room that spanned from the one end of the wall almost to the other one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, see, you were too little to remember that.
But still, I'm still on. Who has a fountain in the house? Like, that's all I'm saying.
That's
like,
old school.
A fountain.
Only Phyllis.
How big was it?
It was a nice sized fountain. It was a big fountain, and it had the little boy peeing it from the top.
In the house?
In there.
And do you know, Michelle, remember this? If we would call your mom just Phyllis in front of my mom.
Oh, hell, shit. There was hell to pay.
Yes.
There was hell to pay.
That's Aunt Phyllis.
That's Aunt Phyllis.
Yep. There was
Yep.
no. Yep. Just
See, when we grew up, we had, because Mom was the only child. Mm-hmm. So there was no, and we didn't get to know my dad's side of the family until way later in life, until, hell, I was 16, 17. So we really had no outside family.
You had Aunt Phyllis.
So we had Aunt Phyllis and we had Aunt Penny.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Yep,
and the
exactly.
three of them, and at different times and in different situations, but the three of them were all the same size.
Oh, yeah.
Every one of them would have fit in Hobbit land like perfectly.
Yeah.
But they were all a Spitfire, and they all matched each other like completely.
Mm-hmm.
So when we grew up, like Christina said, if we didn't say Aunt Phyllis or Aunt Penny, you're in trouble, because they were family, and to the point of Michelle, your program and what you do. That's
LoveLogical.
That's the blended family that we grew up in.
Yeah.
Because we didn't have the aunts and uncles and cousins and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff to grow up with. So all
And
these
we didn't
people
look
that
at anybody as white or black.
Oh no,
or anything
no!
like that.
There was none of that. You didn't see people like that. To your point, when you were saying, that kind of thing didn't happen with white people saying over
Yeah.
with
Within
then
our
you're right.
families.
You're absolutely right. But within our family, it just
it
didn't-
happened.
there was no view of that. It
It
was
happened.
not like no one looked at it that way. This was just family. This is who we hung out with, and if you came into the house, Mom always said we opened the door and there were 6 of us. I'm the youngest of this whole army of misfits. You wonder why I grew up the way I did, but. When we brought people over, it didn't matter, white, black, Filipino. Dad will always say purple with brown polka dots. It didn't matter. You walk in the house, you respect the house, you respect the rules. Sit down at the table
Yep.
and sit down and break bread. Let's eat.
It's not like that
And
anymore.
it's just that's the way it was, but that's the way that
It's the
Mom
way
and
we
Aunt
were
Phyllis and
raised.
Aunt Penny and everyone. It's the way we were raised. How that whole family came together.
Yep. And I know with with us, it was like we had the same thing. It was just it was a mix. It was a mix of people, And then what was funny is because my parents would go out and dance and everything, because my father he worked at Chrysler, but he also was an entertainer.
Yeah.
So there was a side of them that would get dressed up in the gowns and everything and go out dancing and everything. And that was your mom and dad, You know, they would get, your mom had her gowns and everything.
The minks.
And they would go out dancing. And then,
And
you know.
Mama would have Michelle.
Yeah, and she would have me, you know, so that they could go out and do whatever. And then it was like, it was just this cohesive mixture of friendships and relationships, because your mother wasn't into the dancing and your dad wasn't into the dancing, and you know,
you ain't getting popped to dance.
So that's where I was, because you and Peter, you had Rodney and everyone, so you were there. So when they were going out, I would be over there.
Our parents party.
They partied hard.
Time.
They partied, but they went to the Brewster's old timers dances and they did all that stuff. But no, they partied. Now the one thing that was funny is, remember the nightclub? Well, I don't know if you remember the nightclub in our basement. You don't remember that?
I remember when a flashlight came on and y'all was down there freaking. Michelle remember that. All the lights was out. There was a red light on. And everybody down there freaking.
Oh, no,
That's the song, The Freak.
Kiefer, tell the story about at the wedding.
Oh.
This is going to tickle you.
You know, they called everyone up to dance from the bride all the way down.
Whose wedding was it? Rodney?
It was Rodney's wedding.
Rodney's wedding, yeah.
They called everyone up to dance, and it got to me, the ring bearer, and the flower girl was a no-show. I'm like, where's she at? So my Aunt Phyllis said, don't worry about it, baby. I dance with you. And I had these huge boobs in my face.
Oh, wow. That sounds just like her.
I couldn't even breathe. I said, let me just do the two-step.
Just like her.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, she said, don't worry about it, baby. I dance with you. Yeah, she smothered me. I had lipstick and boob boob juice all over my face.
All that.
But the one
enough.
thing out of all three of these women is either they loved you or they didn't like you.
You're in trouble.
Yeah.
You in trouble. If they didn't love you, you were definitely in trouble.
Am I right though?
Yeah, it was like they were sisters.
Yes.
Yeah.
They
family.
were sisters. That's what part of my LoveLogical. That's what LoveLogical. When I tell people that I've been instilled with
being
it.
said this before, Michelle.
Mm-hmm.
Mama was the cream in the middle of it too, brown cookies on the end. Do you remember them saying that?
Yep. And the funny thing is, neither one of them was brown.
No.
But that was the thing that
But
they laughed about stuff like that
They
because it
did.
was nothing
Yeah,
personal.
it was
It
funny
was
to
just
them.
what it was. It was people were open about
Race and
right,
everything.
yeah,
You could talk
who
about
you were,
whatever
right.
you wanted to.
Because I remember like when I was really little, probably just before then or in that same neighborhood. Where you were talking about you guys were some of the first black people moving into that neighborhood. We were on the opposite end of that scale at one point. So we knew the other side of that.
Yes.
And we knew the struggles that one race could actually have with the other one without even, provoking it or even having any care to it. So again, when we grew up, with the love and the care of everyone's family, we didn't see it. We didn't see that kind of thing.
No. You guys, I'm sorry.
So back then, you would deal with like prejudice.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I can literally remember like me and my brother Joe and my sister Brenda. We were the youngest three of the family, so we were in grade school at the same time. Where the other upper three were either in middle school or high school, and walking to school, the three of us together, and being attacked, like physically and verbally attacked, like pull hair, spit on.
Just because you were white in a black neighborhood?
Exactly.
But
exactly
see,
right.
we went through that because we were black in a
just
white
the opposite
neighborhood.
way, right?
Wow.
So we went through the same thing. I would get rocks thrown at me.
Oh, yeah.
The next door neighbors couldn't play with me because, I was the black girl that had moved in and everything. And so that's how my mother and Julia actually ended up becoming friends and bonding. And then Peter, I'm sorry, Chris.
He's going to kill you.
I think I'm the only one that still calls him that.
1974, Peter.
But Chris, we were we went through that. They went to private school. He went to private school. I went to public school. So I had a hard time, and so we knew. And I remember when you guys were living in the White House, and, Delon, that's Grandma Judy to him, But, there was an issue because we came over to visit. And the neighbors had a problem with us coming over to visit. And Daddy Bob had words for the neighbors who had issues with us coming over to visit. And he basically let them know that if they had a problem with who their friends were, they didn't have to come to their house anymore. And it wasn't long after that you guys moved.
Pop made it real simple. Pop was very short on words. But what he said, it was as solid as that table you're leaning on.
Yeah.
He's straight up. And he'd tell you how exactly, if he didn't like you, you wouldn't hear a word out of his mouth. Wow. But if he liked you, then he didn't care what color you were, who you were, what planet you came from. He'd talk to you just like he talked to anybody else.
And that purple with polka dots, that comes from him, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. He had another phrase too, but I'm gonna keep it clean. Yeah. He had other colors that he would refer to.
Yeah, but he was funny, and then, it was like my brothers and sisters are 10 to 14 years older than I am. So when everyone moved out, we had this great big old house, and it was just me by myself. So my mother decided at first she was going to do daycare. And that was fine for her, but it really did nothing for me, The only time I had the siblings and stuff is either if I went down the street or if I went over to your house. Other than that, everybody else was gone. So then my mom decided that she was going to get foster children. So we had foster kids coming to the house. And then about a couple of years after my mom got foster kids, she convinced your mother to get foster kids.
That's when we started. 25 years later and 300 kids later.
Yeah.
She did it then.
So, yeah, she convinced her to get foster kids. Judy was like, I got 6 kids. I'm good.
I got 6. Don't give me no more. Something like my mom would say, I can't stand the 6 I got. Why would I want more?
Yep. No. But, the thing is, when I say that we bonded as and we're not extended family, we are blended, because there was Aunt Julia, there was Aunt Judy, there was their grandma to my kids, there was me and Christina and Bill.
I'll let it go this time.
Michelle, we were so close, Michelle, that me and you took baths together.
Yeah. And the thing is, and as we were growing and everything, we had our ups and downs in our lives and things like that. Yeah. But we knew that we could talk to each other, you know. And even if we didn't see each other, I think that Facebook was one of the best things when it came for people who live distance, because it gave me a chance to see my family, and know, and I watched and that love and everything is there, because I look at Kiefer, I look at Bill, and I listen to Christina, and this was my family growing up, And I have had people that's criticized me because they say, well, you prefer white people over black people and this, that, and the other. I don't prefer anybody. I like good, loving people. And you look at my family sit here at this table, and this is my family. They have loved me for as long as I have walked this earth. And, Christina and I have been through a whole lot through the years. And she knows no matter what was going on, she knew I was going to find her.
Yeah.
And I was going.
And she found me.
And I was going to talk to her. I was going to talk some sense into her, because I pulled myself together, and I was going to be there for her. When it came down to,
I was bad off for a long time.
But you
Till
know,
I moved here,
you-
got my life together.
but you're good. You got a dang on good husband. You have biological and love logical children. Christina's children, Chrissy.
grandchildren.
Yep, Christy and Brian. You know, they were living with Judy for a long time. You know, Judy was she became, I want to say Mama Judy because I have to Mama Judy, because when my mother left this world, she stepped
My
up.
mom was there for you. Yeah.
She stepped up. My Aunt Julia was there. You know, when DeLon was growing up, I moved away from Detroit. And I felt like everyone, we didn't have the cell phones and all the internet and everything. And I felt like everyone thought that I left them. But I never left. I always called to check and make sure. I always knew that everybody was doing good. And these women, today's show, it was important to talk about these women because they were my mother's LoveLogical. Their children, my mother was Aunt Phyllis. When you think of my mother, you think of Aunt Phyllis.
Right.
And don't try to
always have
fast.
been.
You know?
Fast at all, because it would be like Mama would catch Michelle fasting Aunt Phyllis.
Yeah.
Mama would say, Michelle, watch your mouth. And your mom would do the same thing.
Yeah.
She goes, you want a little bit of this in your butt? Talking about her foot. She said, if you don't want it, don't be sassing.
Yep.
Yes, Aunt Phyllis.
I'm going to say one thing. Michelle hasn't changed in years. She sounds the same. She looks the same. She laughs the same.
Oh, I used to laugh
Okay,
constantly.
where's the time machine at?
that laugh, I'm like,
Because
you have to laugh so happy.
exactly like
Yeah.
she did.
Remember when I was little, everybody used to talk about how loud my laugh was, but I couldn't help it. It's just
And how loud, oh God.
how loud it
You're trying to
was.
keep a secret, and all you can do is hear her laughing about it.
Then
It wasn't a secret
she
then.
wore this feather hairstyle. Remember the feather?
Oh, don't even start with the
She had the
feather.
feather.
DeLon called it the matador.
Yeah, the bullfighter. Ole! Like
Your mom would be like, Michelle. That's all you heard, Michelle.
Oh, man. I mean, but you know what's funny is we're children that grew up in the butt whooping era.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We grew up in the butt whooping era.
Well,
but the one thing that we did, go on.
correction.
Yeah.
We seen one butt whooping. And we didn't get butt whoopings, Michelle. We knew what was going to happen. We
Oh,
wasn't getting
now they
whooped.
say you can't whip their butts.
No, but we was not getting whooped all the time.
No, we didn't
Did we,
because we
Michelle?
knew what was coming. But we
Right.
did.
We
did
was
get whooped though.
soldiers.
We got whooped though.
There was 5 before me. I watched them get,
And see,
get
he
their
saw
tails
his brothers
beat.
get
There
whooped.
wasn't, Billy.
Huh?
I'm going to call you Billy, and if you don't like it, I'm sorry to tell you.
Back it down, back it
Your
down.
sister. Listen,
Listen, little sis.
we didn't get bump whippings. We got smacked in the mouth.
Well,
No, you couldn't.
you did that at times
Yeah, you
too.
did get popped in the mouth.
But you know,
Keith, I know you got
was,
popped too.
Pop was straight and narrow.
I was a believer.
Oh yeah.
I was a believer. I seen my brother get a whooping. It was like watching an episode of Roots. I said, "Are you kidding me?" I mean, down to the cold towel compresses on his back.
Oh, my.
And I asked one question: what did you do so I don't do it?
I don't wanna.
I didn't. I'm telling you, I seen those butt whoopings. Man, it was nothing pretty. So we was
Y'all both the youngest. You both the babies.
we was some good kids.
See with mom was basically mom to the neighborhood.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like when I was
all of
growing
them.
up, I going through high school. Everyone knew mom as chief because mom, for mom was mostly Indian.
Yeah. Yeah.
So everyone knew mom as chief because my oldest brother Leonard had a nickname for everybody.
Exactly.
Everybody that came around, you ended up with a nickname of some sort.
Leonard was the tallest.
So mom became chief.
Can't tell
because
my name.
And I was
she's the chief of the tribe. So when I was in high school, everyone in my high school class, not my ROTC people, but everyone knew Chief.
Oh man.
When Mom passed away, everyone because like she would come down, like when I was in high school in ROTC, she would come down and give classes. She would mentor the young ladies and talk to them about things that young ladies are supposed to know. She'd talk about how to take care of the uniform and that kind of thing. But she would huddle the young ladies together. Come here, come on, huddle them out. And she would mentor and talk to them. And those who needed extra help, she gave extra help to. But it wasn't in a manner of teaching. It was mothering. It was mentoring.
And they did that.
Yeah.
When Mom died, this is a true story, and if I'm lying, Christina can attest to me. So many people came into the funeral home, and they were looking for where Mom was, and they didn't know her name. The only thing they knew was Chief. The only thing they looked for was Chief. So they had to ask the people at the funeral home where this person was. Where do I find Chief? Because they didn't know what to call her other than Chief.
Then Chief.
And she was the chief. She mothered everyone in the neighborhood.
Each of them had their own individual thing.
My mom always told us that if we got in trouble with her, it's not because she didn't love us. And I always said, Mom, if we got a whipping, that means you're angry with us. That means you don't love me. She said, no, it isn't. Well, I seen that when I was struggling bad, and my mom had my kids, and she come and picked me up and brung me here. And if she never did that, I wouldn't be alive today.
Right.
So
I remember that.
And every time that my mom was alive, every year she would call me and say, 1 year, one more year. And I'm so proud of you and I love you. I miss that. I so miss that so much.
The thing is, we all had so much
sorry,
love.
but-
No, baby. No, but don't apologize. We had love. We had love from our mothers. We had love from our fathers. We had love growing up. There was no doubt in our minds that we had love. When it came down to Aunt Julia, I was basically her daughter.
Yes.
Yeah. I was her daughter because she had 4 boys. She had 4 boys. So I was her daughter. The me who is the classy side of me,
She was classy.
Yeah,
she is classy.
Still am. Thank you very much.
No, I'm talking about Aunt Julia.
Oh yeah. I'm
just saying, like she, like even walking into her house was like walking into the palace. Like you had all of it, like, oh look
Lord.
at that. Oh, I can't touch nothing. But did you see that? Like that is so cool.
The
Even
baby grand
Samaya.
piano.
Yeah,
The
even
baby
Samaya.
grand piano.
Remember
Yeah.
Samaya went
Yeah.
in and she just like looked around.
Like. But no, it's I learned something that's a part of me from each one of these women, all of them, because I had love from all of them. When Aunt Julia, she would sit down and she would talk to me about boys, about how to make boys respect me, how to make sure that I respected myself first, how to act like a lady at all times. Mama Judy. She's Mama Judy. She graduated from Aunt Judy to Mama Judy after my mother passed away. And she would sit down and she would talk to me about relationships and things, because as a grown woman, losing my mother at 19 years old, losing my mother young, I didn't have that grown mother, and I had Judy to talk to for a long time. And then when God took her, it was hard for me. It was hard. And I know that, with time, but I have to share this story, and it is hilarious. It is absolutely hilarious. And I was telling them before we came, because we were talking about race and how we were raised to love people. And all of our mothers were the type to where if they didn't like you, they would tell you. There was no pretending. There was no, I'm going to act like I like you. There was courtesy. And then when we went our separate ways, we just not going to see each other no more. My mother's way of knowing, when I bring somebody home and my mother did not like that person, I knew as they were leaving, when she says, it was really nice meeting you, I'm looking forward to you coming over again, I knew that they had passed the test.
Like, okay, I got a good one. Yeah.
If it was thank you for coming by. That was it.
That's how she talked to my dad.
There was no. She did. There was no coming back. We knew automatically. We knew, So each of these women instilled something in not just their own children, but in all of us.
You guys grew up with a web, though. Like, it wasn't just one place. It's like you guys had your web. Like, even Mom telling the stories about driving on the other side of Detroit, but she had the car that was so bright. Everybody, there goes Michelle.
I had that orange Vega that anybody could see in the city. There were no cell phones. There was no internet. But somehow, when I got home to Chalmers, south of Jefferson, my mother knew I was in Rosedale Park. They are nowhere near each other. My mother knew I was in Southwest Detroit.
Michelle, what made you get an orange car?
I ended up getting hit in my Mustang. My first car was a Mustang, and I was racing my Mustang, and then I would get in trouble for racing. I would get in trouble racing my Mustang. And then I had a drunk driver go through a red light, and he hit me. He broadsided me, tore up my Mustang. My father was going to get me an MG midget, and my mother said she has a lead foot, and she's going to end up under a bus or something somewhere. So no. So my mother said that she was going to go with us to get my car. And my daddy tried his best to not let her go with us to go get a car. He tried his best. Because, see, my father knew I loved speed. And I ended up with the bright orange Vega.
That's funny.
Bright orange Vega. At Cass Tech, the parking lot was right across the street from the school. If you looked at out of any window facing the parking lot, you could see my car. But I want to share this because we got about 10 minutes, and I want to share this story before we end up here. I was working at a bank in my 20s, and there was a man at the bank who was interested in me, and I was not interested in him at all. And he took it that I wasn't interested in him because he was white, and I wasn't interested in him because of who he was. So I was talking to Judy because, he went and said that I was racist. And, we got to HR and everything, and, people were talking about me at work being racist. Mama Judy never came to Livonia. She did not leave her house that much. So for me to be sitting at my desk and see her walk in the door of the bank, for them to say, Michelle, there's a white lady out here saying that she's your mother. I go out there, it's Judy, and I'm thinking somebody's died, something's happened. There's got to be something major because she don't travel like this. And then to find out that Daddy Bob was out in the car. So that was like, really, something is wrong.
Something brought them out the four corners of their home.
Because that's rare for something like that. So something is wrong. And then she said we were going to lunch. But before we went, she wanted to know who it was that said I was racist. And I was like, oh, Lord. Oh, Lord. And, you just go into that instant prayer head down moment. And when I pointed him out, she went over to him. And I can't say the words the way she said them. But she basically said, Did it ever occur to you that my daughter's not racist? That my daughter don't like you because you're just ugly?
That's embarrassing. Middle of a bank.
Yeah, she don't like you because you just ugly. And then she was like,
She didn't care who heard her either.
Nope, she didn't
Not a
care who
word.
heard her. And she was like, we're going to lunch and we'll be back. By time we got back, I had apologies waiting for me.
And Michelle probably saying, I don't want to work here anymore.
Yeah, it was embarrassing. It was embarrassing. They all had their moments. Like, okay, and when I was little, getting in trouble in elementary school, to have Phyllis and Julia walk into the elementary school together in their house coats. Remember that? The house coats.
If it wasn't the house coat, it was the moo-moo dress.
The moo-moo. Oh, the moo-moo.
Oh, my.
That's like what you see in the movies.
No, it wasn't.
No.
That was life.
Those gowns was like...
The house coats and the moo-moos. And
Oh, yeah.
That was a
The
full
moo-moos.
dress. House shoes and moo-moo dresses.
Yeah.
Curlers.
no. Hair was done.
Okay.
No, hair was done.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on, Michelle. You had the wigs.
Yeah.
Wigs.
Delon, you don't know about the wigs.
Judy
Mom had a full black mane of hair, so it was,
her hair went all the way down to her butt.
yeah.
But Mama and
Jet black.
Mama and I, Julia, had the wigs.
The wigs. The blonde wigs with
They-
the black hair.
That was our Julia.
And then we had this little mannequin in the room that the wig sat on. So they didn't take the wig and throw it to the side. They put it on top of the mannequin. So as a kid, I was going there and said, what the hell? What's going on here? 3 of them up in there with different wigs.
Yeah, and see, my mother, her wigs would always be the same color as her hair, but I could never understand why she wore a wig because she had such beautiful hair.
Because
And
she didn't
our
want to
Julia
brush her
did too.
nappy hair. That's what she told us.
But her hair was not nappy.
That's what she's.
But her hair was not nappy. But you know that it took me to being 25 before I realized that I did not have nappy hair. Neither did and my mother's hair. I just loved her hair because she was able to brush it back and it would wave up. And
Yeah.
but it's just their thought process on things were just so different. But guys, we got to wrap up here. As I said, this special to me because this is my LoveLogical. This is LoveLogical from growing up at a time where black and white did not come together. And ours came together. They grilled out in the backyard. They visited each other. There was diversity in our lives from the time that we were coming up, and then you had a sisterhood that meant something. They loved each other. When Aunt Julia and Uncle Tony and everybody would get together, my father built a barbecue pit out of bricks in our backyard that was large enough for an entire case of ribs. And your dad helped him build it.
Remember the pig roast?
Yes.
They dug a hole.
Yep.
I didn't even think black people did that. What do you mean, pig roast?
I'm telling you, we were not your normal people. I went to rodeos.
Yeah.
I went to
You
the
took me
symphony.
to that stuff.
I went to the symphony. I went to rodeos.
Racetracks.
Yep. And with your mom, you would crack up because my mother taught your mother how to butcher meat, how to butcher a pig, how to butcher a cow. My mother taught everybody how to make sausage because she went and took a job at the local butchers so that she could learn, so she could teach everybody how to do it.
You're making me hungry again, Michelle.
So there was no I know something that I'm not going to teach you.
Right.
Our mothers were special.
They grew up together. They taught together. They taught the neighborhood, and the neighborhood was family.
Yeah.
There was no such thing. Again, you come in, you learn, you give respect to the house, your family.
Your
You
family.
just walk in the door. You walk in the door, you know where the refrigerator is.
Yeah.
Mom and Pop always said, you come in once, you're a guest.
I'm jealous.
Second time you're a bad habit. Don't ask for nothing.
So we
They-
gotta wrap up here, guys, and I know we're gonna bring this together again. But
Yes.
thank you, everybody. Thank you guys
Thank you
for being here.
Thank you for inviting us.
This is so
Thank you
important
for
to me
inviting us.
because this week, this is my week. This is my week because I'm about to start a whole new life as of Thursday. So thank you.
I want to say happy birthday, Michelle.
Thank you.
Happy
Thank
birthday.
Thank
Happy
you.
Happy
birthday.
birthday,
She
Michelle.
turned.
Dang, you
Good night,
old.
everybody.
She turning 21.
Now I'm going to be 53. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
We love you.
We love you too.
Me too.